What's up? It's Marco, Sage Soccer. We talk about the MLS prospects from Matchweek 2 of the MLS, and I just have to say that this is not going to be weekly, just because of how the games are set up. Now, I'm not able to watch too many at once, and going back and trying to watch it all, I can't get this out in a reasonable amount of time. So this will probably be monthly going forward. But there are a couple of good performances that I want to talk about. And starting off, we've got Aiden Morris, who had a very good game for the Columbus Crew. And with him doing well defensively at that defensive midfield position, I think it's just a good step in the right direction for us. We still really lack a backup number 6 behind Tyler Adams, to the point where in my upcoming March roster, I don't think I'd even have one. I just have like a Luca De La Torre and Musa as a 2 and a 4-2-3-1 should we need to have backup for Adams come in. But, it's good progression by Aiden Morris. It's good to see him continue to improve, especially after his injury. I still wouldn't have him with the national team after a pretty poor performance in Camp Cupcake, in my opinion. And I just don't think he's really at that level yet. I would prefer a Johnny Cardoso over him at the moment, and he's probably around a similar level to like a Tanner Tessman, who's quietly been having a very good season, or as good of a season as you can have in Serie B with a team that's fighting relegation. But I think it's very good to see Aiden Morris performing well, and hopefully he'll be a big part of the Olympic team. And he is someone to keep an eye on for sure. That's really it with the main positive performances this week for young players. Another reason why I'm really going to be slowing this down. But we had a good performance from Cole Bassett. Again, I think it was him trying to do a little bit too much, but I'd rather have that than him trying to pass by through the game. And he's still getting accustomed to re-signing with Colorado after spending time in Europe. So I'm going to give it a pass. But it's good to see Cole Bassett trying to make things happen. Another guy who's probably going to be a part of that Olympic team, especially if a lot of the European guys are not released, which I would honestly probably prefer. I'd rather have them get a full preseason than playing the Olympics. But it's good to see Cole Bassett at least back in the MLS trying things. Darren Yappy continued to start for Colorado. I'm not sure if it's going to be a long term thing, especially as they get healthy again. But he's not playing great, which is like another reason why it's like I don't want to talk about these guys too much. But it's good to see him on the field, and he's going to continue to get better. He is a very promising player, but at the moment, he still needs to keep working. He'll probably be coming off the bench a while, and I think he'll definitely be scoring a goal pretty soon. And he is a good, promising player to keep an eye out for. In Kansas City, John Polskamp kept a clean sheet in that Colorado game, and he's another guy who's doing pretty well. We have Roman Celentano, who's really been the breakout goalkeeper last year, and I could very easily see it being Polskamp this year. I believe we've called him into the U.S. national team before, and he looks like a promising shot stopper. I think has potential to make a lot of good saves, and he is someone to keep an eye out for. I think he could be a very good player. And we also had Duke come off the bench, but didn't really get to impact the game that much. In New York, we had a pair of fullbacks starting, John Tolkien at left back, and I'm not going to talk about him too much unless something really starts to change. Solid performance by him, but still nothing where it's so good that you want to get him into the national team. More interesting to me is Cameron Harper was playing as a right back for this game, and to my knowledge, this is not his preferred position at all. But he had a solid performance for New York, and it is something to keep an eye out for. Position changes can really help some players sometimes, so keep an eye out for Cameron Harper because there might be something there. It was good performance today. I'm not sure if he's going to stick with that position. Not sure if he's even going to be playing much this year, but he's had a couple of promising moments. So aside from seeing guys like an Edelman, maybe Sergio Goma when he comes back, a decent amount of prospects in New York this year. Then in Orlando, we had Abdi Salim make his debut. He was from Syracuse, where he's part of their national championship winning team. He got his first start, and it did look a little bit like a first time somebody who's playing, but he was pretty solid in that center back role. I see him as somebody who's a bit more of a no nonsense defender, but as he gets in the MLS, as he's training with pro players every day, we could see him make that progression really start to look good. So keep an eye out for Abdi Salim. Orlando are playing tonight in the CONCACAF Champions League. I'm hoping to see him. The other guy we're going to talk about, I'd like to see Duncan McGuire play. He's somebody from college I was a big fan of. And then we also had Michael Holiday. He's a guy from the U20 team, and he's probably been the U20 who's looked the best in the MLS this year, which is a bit of a surprise because he wasn't the top performer with the U20s, but he's definitely has athleticism to play. He's been playing a bit of a wingback role, or at least in the first half, where he's getting forward a lot and he looks like a pretty promising player. I mean, definitely someone to look out for. He might be a starting right back for the U20s if he keeps playing like this because Mauricio Cuevas isn't playing most in Belgium. Justin Che, when he is playing, I think it's a bit more of a right wing at the moment. And honestly, I prefer him as a center back, but it doesn't seem like that's going to be his position. So definitely keep an eye out for Micah Holiday. I'm going to try to watch that CONCACAF Champions League game tonight so I can keep watching him because he's looking like a good player. One of the other CONCACAF Champions League teams, my Philadelphia Union, played, and not much to talk about. Same thing as last week. We had Leon Flock start. He kept doing his thing. Good defensively, not too much creativity, but that's fine. Good defensive players are always useful. And Jack McGlynn and Quinn Sullivan came off the bench and didn't really get to impact the game that much. Like, there's not too much to talk about there, but hopefully we'll get some more playing time in the CONCACAF Champions League. Maybe even if we go up, we could see maybe Brandon Craig come on. Nelson Pierre recently signed, Anton Sorensen. There's a lot of good players to keep an eye out for, but at the moment of the MLS, it seems like it's gonna look like last year where these guys didn't really get to play that much. McGlynn got a little bit of time, and hopefully we rotate a bit more this year. Then a string of players who were eligible for the U20 team started, and these guys didn't have the greatest performances, but again, at that stage, it's just really good to see them on the field. Cade Cal is probably the best out of these guys I'm going to be talking about. Just provides like his usual energy when he's on the field, and I'd really like to see that translate to high goal scoring numbers because with the senior national team, he looked like one of our best players at that Camp Cupcake. So you'd really like to see Cade Cal keep playing well, keep progressing because he does look like he has a bit of potential, but he's got to get that technical ability like really locked down. Then Noel Buck started for New England Revolution, and he doesn't look out of place when he's playing. It's similar to Obed Vargas last year, but he's really not like stepping up and doing anything special. But just not looking out of place is very good at this level at this age. He's a 2005 player, so really good for Noel Buck there. Then we had Brian Gutierrez. He got a start similar to Darren Yap. He wasn't able to impact the game too much, but he's a player I'm really excited about for the national team. And then Caleb Wiley continued to start for Atlanta, and he provides good defensive contribution because he's playing in a left wing role when he's probably going to be a left back in his actual play. But his attacking play, not superb, but provides good defensive cover, which I think is probably more important when you're a left back. And then we had Owen Wolf for Austin, another team that's going to be playing in the CONCACAF Champions League. And again, not impacting the game too much, but good to see him on the field. And it's good to see those U20 guys playing. A couple more players made their debuts off the bench. We got to see Jalen Neal make his MLS debut, and he came on when LA were already down. But when he came on, they didn't look much worse. They didn't concede a goal, so it's really good to see Jalen Neal playing, and hopefully he'll get a lot more time this year because he certainly showed a lot of promise with the senior team, with the national team. And we got to see Diego Luna make his debut for this season. Him and Moses Nyman are on the bench for Real Salt Lake, so two pretty good prospects, and really hoping to see Luna play a lot in the MLS this year because he looks like a very promising player. Just the creativity that he brings is just special in this program. And if he can really put it all together, which, I mean, he's starting to find a way to do it. He was really good in the USL last year. He's been a standout for the U20s and just a really fun player to watch. Then just finishing off, Teddy Pietro came off the bench for DC United again, along with Jackson Hopkins. This time they weren't able to really change the game like they were in their season debut. I'm hoping they can get some more playing time as DC's season goes on and they start to fall off, which I don't think DC's going to be playing that well this year. Teddy looks like he's going to be a very good player. Jackson Hopkins has shown a lot of promise, and hopefully Christian Fletcher and Matai Kamboni can keep playing. Then for the rest of the league, we had Andres Jasson. He got to start for New York City FC a bit further up the field than he usually did. Last year, we got to see him and Tavon Gray fighting for a play, like a spot on the team. And Gray's a bit more of a defensive player, and Jasson's been more of the offensive threat. And Gray's been playing a center back this year. Jasson's been playing further forward. Just kind of cements that. Again, didn't impact the game too much, but it's good to see him on the field. And then to finish off, Bryce Duke came off the bench to just came off the bench, didn't do too much. Same with Josh Atencio for Seattle. Seattle's been playing very well this year. And then St. Louis City FC in their debut season, they've been playing very well. Indiana Vasilev came back from injury this week and he came off the bench. And Miguel Perez, their 2005 player, another guy who came off the bench. And yeah, that's it for MLS prospects. Not really much to talk about this week. Good performance from Aiden Morris. John Poolskamp kept a clean sheet. Cole Bassett's looking good, but they're on the older end of the prospect spectrum, and you'd kind of expecting them to do better, which is good, and they are fulfilling that. And you'd really like to see some of the younger guys like really step up and start to be just transform those players who can really impact games, like we saw with like a Brendan Aronson a couple years ago, a Mark McKenzie playing really well, and some guys who aren't from the Union. But you know, I think there's a good amount of promise with this group. But again, I'm going to be talking about this like probably once a month now because just as I said before, with how the games are, like with all of them being at the same time, I can only watch like three, like at most, full games, and then I don't feel like great about talking about these players who I like haven't seen fully. So I'm probably going to just space this out more so I can definitely see like all these guys play before I talk about them again. And yeah, so I'll talk about. See you.